I could take you back to the exact place where I lost whatever remnants of faith I had in God. I was a freshman biology student at Prospect High School in Mount Prospect, Illinois, in the third floor classroom, sitting in the second row from the window, third seat from the back. And the reason I remember that so clearly is because I was so impressed by the science experiment that the teacher was explaining to us that day. It seems that in 1953, there had been a graduate student at the University of Chicago named Stanley Miller. He had tried to demonstrate that life could have arisen naturalistically without any need for a creator. And so to show that, he created a flask and he filled it with what he thought was the atmosphere of the early Earth. And he shot electricity through it in order to simulate lightning. And at the end of this experiment, he found a brown reddish goo in the flask. And when he analyzed it, he realized these were amino acids. And amino acids are the building blocks of life. So I'm sitting there as a young student and I draw the conclusion, well, wait a minute, God's out of a job. I mean, if you can show that life came about without any need for a creator, then there is no God. And that's the first day I began to call myself an atheist. And consequently, being an atheist, I had no accountability to God, and I felt like I could kind of make up my morality as I went through life. And so I lived a very immoral and drunken and narcissistic lifestyle for many years. Now, later I discovered that that experiment was not valid, that the atmosphere Stanley Miller had used was not the right atmosphere of the early Earth, and that when you use the correct atmosphere, you do not get the same results. Besides which, amino acids are a far cry from life itself. I mean, that's like saying I have a brick, therefore I can explain a skyscraper. Well, after I learned that, well, wait a minute, that experiment did not disprove the existence of God, and I did other investigation, I found that, wait a minute, there is good scientific evidence that God exists. There is good evidence that Jesus is his son. Well, after I received Christ, my life began to change, and my values, my character, my morality, my attitudes, my priorities, my relationships, all of these things began to change over time for the good.